Your mind isn't on your side. It's not working to push you forward. It works to preserve you by keeping you fragile, fearful, and stationary. And that's precisely why challenges seem insurmountable. Because every time you attempt to face them, your psyche obstructs you. But this conflict ends here now. I'm about to reveal how to dominate your mind and make it submit to your commands. First lesson: programmed to limit you. Your mind doesn't care about your aspirations. It cares only about one thing: staying safe. That's why it constantly whispers, skip the workout today. You need rest. Another moment of inactivity won't change anything. You'll begin with the next day. It always seeks the path requiring less effort. But the way of least resistance doesn't forge fighters. It generates passive spectators, inert consumers, dreamers who never translate thoughts into action. And every day you accommodate this internal narrative, you strengthen the chains binding you to your own mind. But before we continue, please like this video, share it with people who might appreciate it, and write in the comments which city you're watching our YouTube channel from. Second lesson: transform suffering into propellant. The secret doesn't consist in avoiding suffering, but in reinterpreting it. The majority considers suffering as an adversary. Fundamental error. Suffering is the price to pay. It's the currency with which you purchase evolution, authority, lucidity, vigor. Want to break this pattern? Apply this principle. Every time your mind states, I don't feel like doing it, you counter, perfect. That means it's exactly what I must do. Suffering transforms into the catalyst, not the alarm. Stop seeking what's comfortable. Start seeking what offers resistance. Third lesson: the 3-second switch. Every moment of indecision is a victory for your mind. That's why you have only 3 seconds to move, otherwise you'll remain blocked forever. It works like this. You wake without motivation. 3, 2, 1, move. You see the training session and waver. 3, 2, 1, begin. 0 reflection, only execution. Because action annihilates paralyzing analysis, and indecision is the nemesis of metamorphosis. Fourth lesson: daily combat state. You don't need an elaborate sequence of 50 procedures. You need one thing: a daily ritual against the comfort zone. Ice-cold shower, 100 push-ups, 30 minutes of total concentration. Expressing yourself when there's fear, rising before dawn. Small daily battles. Each of these is a direct blow to your fragility. Each of these trains your mind to surrender. Your purpose isn't feeling prepared. Your purpose is acting repeatedly until your mind silences and follows you docilely. Fifth lesson: become the perfect mechanism. The majority waits to feel disciplined, but fighters don't wait to feel any particular emotion. They decide their identity and then act coherently. Declare to your mind, I'm not indolent. I've simply become accustomed to avoiding discomfort, but this pattern stops today. Then undertake something demanding and replicate it the following day. You're not simply reorganizing your daily schedule. You're reconstructing your essence. The objective isn't completing an activity. The objective is transforming yourself into a mechanism that excels under stress. You've followed your mind's orders for too long. That version of you ceases to exist at this moment. From this instant forward, you face the challenges. Subscribe to the channel. Isn't it fascinating how particular thoughts, particular situations seem to manifest precisely when you most require them? Perhaps you weren't seeking anything, yet suddenly something emerges. A solution, an understanding, a direction, and it feels as though it has been awaiting you forever. Existence possesses this peculiar rhythm. Nothing arrives too soon, nothing arrives too late. Everything, even this precise instant, presents itself exactly at the right moment. And what we label coincidence is frequently existence's method of reminding us that we belong to a greater harmony, a fabric so immense that the mind cannot dominate it, can only awaken to it. Reflect upon the moments in your life when something seemed to present itself at the perfect time. A stranger's words, a sudden intuition, the opening of an opportunity. You might have thought how extraordinary, how fortunate. But what if it wasn't fortune? What if it was simply the unfolding of the fabric? In the East, they name this Tao, the way things flow when we cease forcing them. In India, it's called Leela, the divine play, synchronicity. But whatever the label, the experience remains identical. What you require arrives when you're ready. This readiness holds the key, because truth is perpetually here, all around us, like sunlight descending. But until you're open to it, it passes unnoticed. A child might hear profound wisdom and dismiss it as foolishness. Those same words later might pierce the heart like lightning. And so it isn't that life suddenly produces meaning, but that you ripen into the capacity to receive it. What you call coincidence is simply alignment. The instant when your openness meets life's generosity, and a door swings open without your forcing it. But before we continue, please like this video, share it with people who might appreciate it, and write in the comments which city you're watching our YouTube channel from. But notice how this timing operates. You cannot grasp it. You cannot demand that wisdom appear. It's like attempting to force a flower to bloom by pulling its petals. You only destroy it. The flower blooms when the season is right, when the sun and soil are ready. In the same way, realization appears when you're ready, not an instant sooner, not an instant later. This explains why the most transformative insights arrive unexpectedly in the middle of an ordinary day. You weren't searching, yet suddenly it was there, as if whispered by the universe itself. And perhaps that's why you're here now. Some part of you has been restless, longing for clarity, for a reminder. And so life has placed these words before you, not because they contain some secret magic, but because you're finally quiet enough, ready enough to hear what you already know. Because awakening never concerns acquiring new information. It concerns remembering. Remembering that you aren't broken, that you aren't behind. That the very fact you're breathing now means you're exactly where you must be. Life never delivers anything out of season. Have you noticed how frequently the great turning points in your life felt like accidents? You met someone by chance and they transformed everything. You stumbled into a situation that forced you to grow. You overheard a sentence that haunted you for years. None of it was planned, yet all of it was necessary. The mind resists this. It wants control. It wants certainty. But life isn't a machine to be engineered. It's a dance. And in a dance, you cannot predict the next step. You can only move with the rhythm as it unfolds. But what if I miss my moment? Yet you cannot truly miss what is meant for you. The tide doesn't rise only once. It comes again and again. If you don't hear today, life will whisper tomorrow and the next day until you're ready. This is the mercy of existence. It doesn't abandon you for failing to notice. It waits patiently like a friend at the door. And when at last you open, you realize the guidance was always there. You were simply too preoccupied to see it. And now here it is. So don't think of these moments as interruptions. They are revelations. You may believe you're being pulled off course when in truth you're being guided back. How many times have you looked back and said, if that hadn't happened, I would never have arrived here. What felt like a mistake was a turning. What felt like loss was a doorway. Life in its mystery knows how to place before you precisely what you require, not always what you want. Because your wants are shallow, but your needs are profound. And life always delivers what is needed. The message you seek will often come in the simplest form. You expect thunder and lightning, but instead it's a quiet phrase, an ordinary moment, a fleeting thought. That's why so many overlook it. They're waiting for grandeur when truth appears as a whisper. And yet that whisper carries more power than any shout because it doesn't impose. It resonates. It stirs something already within you, something waiting to awaken. And you feel it not as information added but as recognition, as if life is saying, yes, you knew this all along. You're at such a moment now, uncertain of your path, confused by the noise of the world, and suddenly these words find you. They aren't here to fix you. They're here to remind you you're not broken. You're unfolding. You're not late. You're right on time. Because life doesn't measure you against clocks and calendars. Life measures nothing. It flows and you flow with it. And when you stop forcing, when you stop rushing, you discover the rhythm has been carrying you all along. You were never outside the dance. So much of our suffering comes from the belief that we're behind, that we must rush to catch up. But catch up to what? To whom? There's no finish line. There's no schedule written in the sky. You are the rhythm of life itself. And life cannot be late. The seasons don't apologize for arriving when they do. The tide doesn't scold itself for retreating or advancing. Why then do you imagine that you alone in all the cosmos should be out of step? You're not. You're moving exactly as you must. And when you see this, you relax. You stop grasping. You stop demanding that answers arrive on your timetable. And then like magic, the answers appear. Not because they were absent, but because your eyes have opened. Have you noticed when you stop straining to remember a name, it suddenly comes back to you? When you stop forcing inspiration, the idea floats up of its own accord. This is the same law. What you need arises when you're still enough to allow it. Life doesn't withhold. It only waits for your openness. But the mind resists this. It says, no, I must plan. I must be certain. Yet certainty is the very thing that blocks discovery. To live only by certainty is to live in the past, to repeat what is already known. But life isn't repetition. It's creation. It's always new, always surprising. And so the truly wise learn to trust uncertainty. They learn to walk without a map, knowing the path appears as they go. Just as a melody emerges note by note, your life unfolds step by step. You don't need to know the whole song. Perhaps that's what you're learning now. Trust that what you need will come. Trust that you're not forgotten. Trust that the universe isn't indifferent but intimate. That it whispers constantly, though you may not always listen. And when you finally hear, you call it coincidence, synchronicity, fate. But it's simply the eternal dance. You were never separate from it. You only believed you were. And when you let go of the illusion of control, you discover you were being carried all along, like a leaf upon the river, flowing exactly where it must. If you feel weary, take comfort. Life hasn't abandoned you. If you feel uncertain, breathe deeply. The next step will reveal itself. You don't need to demand it. You need only to be present. Because presence is the soil in which the seed of wisdom sprouts. And even now that seed is stirring within you. These words aren't giving you something new. They're watering what was already there. And soon when the season is right, it will bloom. You'll recognize it not as something added, but as something remembered. Something always yours. Isn't it curious that even your struggles serve this rhythm? The heartbreaks, the failures, the disappointments, they ripen you. They soften you. They prepare the ground. Without them, you wouldn't be ready for the insight when it comes. The stone must be cracked before the light enters. The soil must be broken before the seed can grow. And so even your pain has meaning though you may not see it at the time. Later you look back and say, yes, without that I would never have awakened to this. Nothing is wasted. Everything is woven into the fabric. When you despair and ask why now, remember because now is the only time anything can happen. The lesson doesn't arrive in the past or the future. It arrives in the present. Always here, always now. And if you open yourself, you'll see that what you need is already given. Sometimes as clarity, sometimes as mystery, but always as presence. Even confusion is a form of guidance, because it tells you to stop pretending you know. The greatest mistake is to imagine you must wait for some special moment, some perfect condition before you can awaken. That's just another delay, another trick of the mind. The perfect condition is now, because now is the only condition that exists. When you realize this, you no longer anxiously seek the message. You recognize that the message is always here, taking countless forms, waiting for your attention. A bird's song, a sudden pause, a passing face, all can speak if you're awake to them. The universe is never silent. You're only distracted. But then, isn't it marvelous that even your distractions are part of the plan? Because when you awaken from them, you realize how much time you wasted. And in that realization, you resolve to live differently. The detour was part of the journey. The misturn was part of the road. Nothing is lost. Nothing is wasted. Everything belongs. And this is why you cannot fail at life. You cannot be outside of it. You can only imagine that you are. And then one day, like today, something reminds you, a phrase, a moment, a gentle nudge, and you awaken. Perhaps that's what this moment is. A nudge, a reminder that you don't need to panic, that you don't need to rush, that everything, even your confusion, even your longing, is part of the unfolding, and that what you most need is always on its way or already here. The mind says, "But how will I know?" And the answer is simple. You'll feel it. Just as you know when you're hungry or tired or in love, you'll know when the message is meant for you. It won't be forced. It will resonate. And when it resonates, don't doubt it. Don't dismiss it as mere chance. Trust it. Life has spoken, not with thunder, but with a whisper. And the whisper is always enough, because whispers enter the heart where shouts cannot. They bypass the defenses, the pride, the endless arguments. And suddenly, without warning, you see clearly. You realize you were never alone. That life has been guiding you all along. That even now, in this very moment, you're being held. And when you feel this, gratitude floods in. Gratitude not for what you wanted, but for what you needed. And what you needed wasn't certainty, but trust, not control, but surrender. Not endless answers, but the courage to live the questions. Because life isn't a puzzle to be solved. It's a mystery to be experienced. And the mystery unfolds only when you stop clutching at it, like sand slipping through your fingers. Cannot be grasped. But if you open your hand, it rests there easily. So too with wisdom, it isn't found by force, but by letting go. And when you let go, you discover it has been here all along, waiting patiently. To relax into the timing of life. To see that nothing is missing. To trust that what you need is already on its way or already present, disguised as the ordinary. Because the extraordinary always hides in the ordinary. The sacred hides in the simple. And when you awaken to this, you realize that you don't need to chase anything. You need only to notice the rhythm, the timing, the presence in each moment. And in that noticing, life reveals itself as perfectly whole, perfectly complete, exactly as it is. So when you wonder why this moment feels so timely, understand it isn't by accident. Life has brought you here, not because you're lost, but because you're found. Not because you're broken, but because you're whole. The reminder comes not to fix you, but to wake you. To wake you from the dream of separation, the dream of control, the dream that you must earn your place. You're already here. You always have been. And the rhythm of life is always carrying you forward step by step exactly where you need to go. So let these words be what they're meant to be. A reminder. A gentle hand on your shoulder saying you're not late. You're not behind. You're not forgotten. Everything comes when it must. Even this moment, even this thought, even this realization, life is never early, never late. It's always on time. And so are you.